This is Walter White. He lives in Albuquerque. He has a wife named Skylar, a son named Walter Jr. who has cerebral palsy, and a daughter on the way. And a brother-in-law, Hank Schrader, who works at the DEA, and recently made a big drug bust. Walter is a chemistry teacher at a local high school, and he tells the students how awesome chemistry is. However, his students don't share his enthusiasm. Philistines. He also works part-time at a car wash with a dick as a boss, and he drives a Pontiac Aztek. Horrible. After he turns 50, he is diagnosed with small cell lung cancer. Now, any normal person would either accept their fate or ask for help from friends and family, but not Walter. No, instead he decides to quit his job at the car wash and cook crystal meth to make money for his family, with the aid of a former student, Jesse Pinkman, bitch. At the same time, Skylar turns inquisitive, barking questions at Walter like a Scientologist. Using an RV as a mobile drug lab, Walter makes the purest meth Jesse has ever seen, so he brags about it to local drug king Crazy 8 to help distribute the drugs. Crazy 8, however, believes Walter to be a narc, so Walter poisons him with phosphine gas. He survives, so Walt and Jesse imprison him in Jesse's aunt's house. They plan to kill him, but Walt can't go through with it, until he is forced to strangle him upon realising Crazy 8 stole a shard of plate to kill Walt once he's released. Walt then decides to tell his family about the cancer. They try to talk him into chemotherapy. He refuses at first, but changes his mind the next day. Because of the chemo, Walt loses his hair, and with that his morality. He and Jesse get back to cooking meth to sell to another drug king, Tuco Salamanca. Walt turns into Heisenberg. No, not the physicist. Yes, that's it. The two hilariously steal a barrel of methamphetamine from a warehouse to make bigger batches, introducing the blue meth we all know and love today. Walt is horrified to see Tuco beat his own henchman to death for no apparent reason, even though in the last episode he walked into Tuco's place with fulminated mercury and with it quite literally blew the house down. Worrying that Tuco will kill them next, Walt and Jesse decide to poison him with ricin. Tuco kidnaps them to bring them to his house in the desert where he cares for his uncle Hector, a former Mexican cartel drug lord who can now only communicate with a bell on his wheelchair. And bowel movements. Walt tries to poison Tuco, but Hector warns him. At the same time, Hank tries searching for Walt, unintentionally arriving at Tuco's place. Walt and Jesse previously made a break for it, and Hank shoots Tuco in the head. Walt pretends to be at a fugue state the whole time he went missing to avoid suspicion. Skylar then decides to disappear herself and starts smoking. Even though she's fucking pregnant, she later starts a job with Ted Beneke, and learns he's cooking the books. Meanwhile, Hank is promoted and sent to El Paso, but leaves after nearly being exploded by Danny Trejo's head on a tortoise. Jesse, meanwhile, is kicked out of his house by his parents after finding Walt's drug lab in the basement. He later moves into an apartment with hottie and former drug addict Jane Margolis as a landlady. Hey, wouldn't it be funny if she had a kid called Valar? As in Valar Margolis? Anyway, the two become boyfriend and girlfriend. The meth business goes great until one of the dealers, Skinny Pete, gets mugged. Jesse goes to the mugger's house to take the meth back when the woman smashes her man's head in with an ATM machine. Good God, lady. Jesse claims responsibility and the business booms. Walt, fearing he's about to die, cooks a shitload of meth with Jesse in the RV lab. However, Walt's worries are misplaced because his cancer's in remission. The meth business continues to boom, and they all lived happily ever after. Couple of snags, however. Dealer Badger, no, goddammit, Badger, there, gets busted by the cops. Walt and Jesse give him a lawyer to make the charges go away. Not just any criminal lawyer, but a criminal lawyer. Better call Saul. Next, another dealer gets murdered by the cartel. Saul gets sworn into contact with Gus Fring, a drug lord using his fried chicken franchise as a front. Gus buys the drugs for Walt, but he misses the birth of his daughter Holly. Walt is now rich, but he refuses to give Jesse his cut when he starts using heroin. Jane blackmails him into giving it, or she tells Skylar. He gives in, but Walt sees Jane overdose and choke on her own vomit and just lets her die. Skylar finds out that Walter has lied to her about everything and leaves him. Jane's dad, Q, gets depressed and causes two planes to collide over Albuquerque. Two cartel assassins, Lionel and Marco Salamanca, arrive in New Mexico from Old Mexico to kill Heisenberg. Skylar wants to divorce Walt, finally realising he's a meth cook. He decides to bully his way back home by calling Skylar's bluff that she will tell the cops on him. Smooth move, Walter, but Skylar's fucking Ted. Jesse goes to rehab, cleans himself up, and uses his share of the money to buy back his aunt's house. Hank continues investigating the Heisenberg case, eventually coming across the RV lab. Walt and Jesse subvert the investigation and distract Hank long enough to destroy the lab. Hank gets super pissed off with Jesse and beats him up, getting him suspended from the DEA. Gus directs the Salamanca cousin's attention to Hank. Hank is severely wounded, but he runs over one and kills the other. The first cousin is later finished off by Gus's fixer, Mike Trout. Walt starts cooking for Gus in a super lab under a laundry warehouse with new lab assistant Gail Bettick. Seriously, what's with the show and surnames? However, Walt soon gets Jesse back on board, kicking Gail out. Jesse begins banging cutie Andrea Cantillo and learns her younger brother was the one who shot one of his dealers. Skylar decides to be more involved in Walt's business by attempting to buy the car wash to launder Walt's earnings, having learned tricks from Ted. When two drug dealers of Gus's kill Andrea's brother, Jesse tries to kill the two, but Walt unleashes Heisenberg and kills them for him. Walt and Gus begin to have a falling out, so Gus arranges for Gail to work with Walt again and learn Walt's methods so Gus can kill Walt. Gail's approach is less than subtle and Walt is suspicious. He conspires with Jesse to kill him so Gus could keep them for now. Walt decides to do it, but gets held up by Mike, so Jesse kills Gail. Gus is pissed that his plan to kill Walt went awry, so he uses a box cutter to slice the throat of his own henchman? Jesus Christ! The two continue cooking, but Walt buys a gun from Bobby Singer for protection, as well as plotting to kill Gus. Jesse copes with killing Gail by self-destructing until Mike cleans up his act. Gus arranges a fake robbery attempt to help man Jesse up. Now realising Gus wants Jesse to hang out with him, Walt makes a plan to poison Gus with a capsule of ricin Jesse hides in a cigarette. In the meantime, the cartel attack Gus's trucks. It is their attempt to get him to give them the blue meth. Gus needs to borrow Jesse to show off his cooking skills. Walt realises Jesse has switched sides and they have a big falling out. Jesse goes to Mexico with Gus and Mike and cook the meth, nearly matching Walt's purity. Of course, it's all a ploy from Gus to kill the cartel leaders as revenge for killing his partner several years before. Skylar buys the car wash and begins the money laundering. She gets scared of Walt because he's not in danger. He is the danger. Ted is being indicted for fraud, so she sends Ted a check to pay the debt, otherwise the IRS will come for her next. Ted refuses to pay, so she has two goons make him. Hank gets closer to cracking the Heisenberg case, so Walter purposely subverts it, even though Gus still treats him like shit. That doesn't matter though, because Gus fires him soon after. He also warns Walt not to go after him, otherwise he will kill his wife, he will kill his son, and he will kill his... Aww, isn't Holly adorable? Andrea's son Brock is poisoned and sent to hospital. Jesse suspects it's the ricin and confronts Walt. Walt denies poisoning him, so it must have been Gus. Jesse sides with Walt again, and they plan to kill Gus by bombing his car. However, Gus seems to have developed a sixth sense and leaves this car behind. They have one more play, to use Hector. Turns out Gus visits him to boast of all the cartel guys he killed. Walt has Hector visit the DEA to make Gus believe he is talking to them. Gus pays him a visit, but realises too late that he has a bomb, and Hector totally suicide bombs himself. Gus appears to walk out unharmed, but then the camera turns to reveal, oh my god, what the hell is that? Walt wins! He and Jesse destroy the super lab, and Brock is going to make a full recovery. Turns out he ingested Lily of the Valley, which Walt fed him. Walt can now breathe easier, but oh no, Gus has a laptop with recordings of Walt in the super lab, and it's in a police station. Wait, Mike was a cop, maybe he knows what to do. Oh, they can't get to it? Hold on, Jesse has an idea. Yes, a big-ass magnet. They use the magnet and wipe out the laptop's hard drive. The three continue the business and work with a pest control company to cook in houses to be fumigated. Walt and Mike are at odds because some of his money has to go towards legacy costs to Mike's men who are in jail to keep them quiet. Walt finally gets rid of his awful Aztec and leases a sweet Chrysler 300. Skylar's taking it poorly. She could take it like a mob wife, but instead wishes Walt is dead. They get into contact with Gus's partner Lydia Rodart Quayle to get methamphetamine. Some stupid cops put trackers on the barrels, so the team decide to rob a train full of the stuff. The train robbery succeeds, but pest control guy Todd Alquist spots a kid and murders him. Jesse decides to leave, as does Mike, since the authorities are onto him. Walt continues with Todd as his sous chef. Todd isn't as good as Jesse. When the legacy costs stop and the prisoners are about to talk, Walt wants their names. Mike refuses, so Walt kills him. Lydia provides the names, so Walt works with Todd's uncle Jack Welker and his neo-Nazi gang, even though they barely say anything about the Jews, or the blacks, or the gays. They have their guys in prisons too. Oh dear. Oh, Jesus. Oh, that's cold. Walt works with Lydia to expand the blue meth business to the Czech Republic. Probably explains why this country has churches made of human skulls, eh? In the following weeks, Walt makes so much money that... Nice one, Yule. I like your thinking. Walt makes so much money that Skylar convinces him to stop. Family life goes back on track, but then Hank spots a book with Gail's handwriting and finally realises that Walt is Heisenberg. Walt's cancer is back, but he realises that Hank is onto him, so he takes some precautions. He has the money moved into barrels and buries them in the desert. He also records a video claiming Hank was the mastermind of the meth operation to get him to back down. Jesse gets into more trouble with the law, so Saul and Walt convince him to leave and start a new life with a new identity. Jesse discovers that Walt poisoned Brock, so he goes to Walt's house and pours petrol over it. Silly Jesse. Petrol belongs in a car. Oh wait, you were planning to burn it down. Got it. Hank stops Jesse and convinces him to bring Walt down. Marie, Hank's wife and Skylar's sister, convinces Skylar to tell Junior the truth. He's not taking it well. Walt realises Jesse is working with Hank, so he hires Jack and his neo-Nazi pals to kill Jesse. Damn. In order to get Walt's attention, Hank and Jesse fool him into thinking they found his money and are burning it. Walt rushes to the burial site like Knight Rider and finds the place empty. Jesse arrives with Hank and his partner Steve Gomez. Walt calls off Jack, but... oh shit, here they come. Gomez is dead. Walt begs Jack not to kill Hank, but he does it anyway. The white supremacists steal most of Walt's money and capture Jesse. Todd enslaves him to cook meth for Lydia because he fancies her. Walt returns, and after the others and Marie learn Hank is dead, mayhem ensues. Walt takes Holly with him, but realising Holly wants her mummy more, he calls Skylar, making it sound as if he forced her into the business, knowing the phones are tapped. He then leaves Holly at a fire station and goes into hiding in New Hampshire with the remainder of his money. He stays there for several months. He grows his hair back. In the meantime, Jesse tries to escape but is quickly caught. He refuses to continue, so Todd kills Andrew and makes Jesse watch. Walt begins to feel lonely, but he can't leave his cabin because there's a nationwide manhunt against him. He finally has enough and goes to a nearby bar to call Junior, who hates him. Walt calls the DEA to turn himself in, but before the cops arrive, Walt sees something on the news. Walt helped start a scientific research company called Grey Matter with partners Elliot and Gretchen Schwartz. For reasons never revealed, Walt was brought off, but afterwards Grey Matter is now worth billions, and Elliot and Gretchen are wealthy as hell. Walt is resentful that they have everything and that he has nothing, even though they offered to get him back and help him with his cancer treatments. Anyway, Elliot and Gretchen slam Walt in the news. That and the blue meth is still present. Walt is pissed and manages to elude the cops. Now at full Heisenberg mode, he returns to New Mexico for his 52nd birthday. He pays Elliot and Gretchen a visit to get them to give his remaining millions to Junior for when he turns 18. He then pays another visit to Bobby Singer, who gives him a birthday present, an M60 machine gun. He comes to Lydia and Todd with a proposal, but they turn him down. But Walt has used that as a ruse, as a way to discreetly put ricin into Lydia's tea. He then goes to Skylar's place, where he finally admits that he didn't cook for his family, but for himself all along. Later that night, he goes to Jack's place and finds Jesse is still alive. At the right moment, Walt pulls his final trick. He remotely opens the boot, revealing the rigged M60 machine gun, and it automatically fires. All the neo-Nazis are dead, apart from Todd. Oh wait, never mind. And Jack. Oh, not him either. Okay then, they're all dead. Walt wants Jesse to kill him, but Jesse refuses because Walt was already wounded from the gunfire. Jesse is finally free and he drives away happy. A sick Lydia calls Todd's phone but is surprised to hear Walt, who announces, "Ha, they're all dead, and I poisoned you with ricin, bitch," then hangs up. He goes to the lab to take a final look around. He then succumbs to his wound and dies by the time the cops get there.